Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start this session. The aim of this session, it's not going to be long. It's just to walk you through the new process for you to submit your sales invoices and to have them approved, paid, and then to reconcile them in Salesforce with the marketing activities. So one part will be done in with finance and in finance software Abacus, and one part will be done in Salesforce. So Sylvain will walk you through the first part. That's more his department, and then I'll walk you through the Salesforce part.
For the finance part, first you need to install Abacus. To install Abacus, you need to go to the Manage Software Center and install Abacus. That's easy. If you have any issue, just contact the IT team and they will help you. Your credential for Abacus will be sent to you tomorrow morning, first hour in Switzerland. Once Abacus is installed, it will appear here in your taskbar. Now, every time you receive an invoice from your agent or your suppliers, you will not anymore need to introduce it into Salesforce, but you will send it to the accounting team. In the workflow, it's written which information is needed. So we need the name of the vendor, the bank details, the amount, etc. Everything on the PDF, and as well we need each marketing activity number and the related amount if there are more than one marketing activity number on the invoice. A short description for us to be sure to book it in the correct account, and any other interesting information for us. You prepare your email with the PDF, all this information, and you send it to accounting at Swiss Education. You don't need to do any more at this stage. Once we receive the emails in the finance department, we will prepare the invoice in Abacus, here, this little software. So we prepare the invoice, and once the invoice is ready, we have done every check, the VAT, etc. You will receive an email like this one from the finance department saying that you have one or more new entries to approve. This is the beginning of the approval steps. So you will, in the past, in Salesforce, you do not need to approve the invoice, but you were only submitting the invoices. Now you need to approve the invoice, and all your area director, Claudio Racanello and Ronan Fitzgerald will need, depending on the amount, to approve the invoice as well. So once you receive this email, you go to Abacus, you need to log in. Abacus ERP, it's all written in the process file we sent you. With your credential, we will send you the credential tomorrow morning. And so it takes a few seconds to open Abacus. Just for your information, you need to be logged to the VPN to go into Abacus if you are not connected through an SEG network. So here we are in Abacus. Here you have the position traitement inbox, editing inbox. You click on it and you will see all your invoices written in this area. For each invoice, you will be able to approve it or refuse it, but you cannot do it without seeing the PDF attached. To see the document related to this invoice, you just need to click on the invoice, and after a few seconds, you will see the PDF here. Voila, classified. This is an invoice. So normally you should know this invoice because it's you send it to the finance. So normally you know what it's related for, but you can always check the amount and marketing activity or supplier. You can do some checks, but yes, you need to open it. Here you have the detailed bookings. In this section, the text position, we write down the marketing activity and some description. This description might be what you sent in the email, or it can be well, something else in addition. Here you also have the account 4451 promotion, which is related to the account you use in Salesforce for the promotion. If you would like to refuse the invoice like this, you need first to write a comment here in this section, like everything but a comment. So I will not do it because we will not refuse this invoice. And if you would like to approve this invoice, you can go into click on approved, and then with this little eclair, execute all the approval you selected. Can I approve it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now the invoice is approved. It will go to the next level of approval if necessary. So over Claudio, it's Ronan. Over Diane, it's Claudio. Over you, regional manager, it's your director or area director. So it goes step by step, depending on the amount. Not everybody needs to approve the invoice. Once the invoice is approved, then it's sent to Salesforce.
Yeah.
So sorry, 2 days later.
It takes 2 days. So once the final approval step is done, 2 days later, the invoice will be created automatically in Salesforce, as well as the expense lines. And you will also receive an email telling you that you have to go and link your expense line to the related marketing activity. We have not done this automatically, so that once the expense line is created in Salesforce, that there's still a small check from your side to make sure that everything is correct and that you link it to the correct marketing activity. So what you'll do, you'll also receive an email here. So I have an example here of an invoice that was approved, fully approved in Abacus, and then Duncan received an email like this from Salesforce asking him to link the expense line to the marketing activity. So here you have two choices. Either you click on the link in the email, that's the easiest way to do it, and this will open directly the expense line in Salesforce. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll switch to Salesforce Classic because this is the new version of Salesforce. If I manage. But then, yeah, if you click on the link, it opens the expense line in Salesforce. Or you have another choice is to go on the expense line items, the tab. If you don't have it at the top here, you'll find it in the little plus here, and then you can look for it on the expense line items. I'm still on the lightning. Sorry, I have to switch because you don't know this view of Salesforce. Takes a bit of time. So, but basically you have two choices. Either you click on the link on the email, or you go into the expense line items tab in Salesforce. And then in there, you have a new view that's called expense line items with no marketing activity. And then you can view here all the expense line items that you have that are not linked. So for example, if I go here, I can go to all expense line items without a marketing activity. And here you have a list of all the expense line items that you have to link to a marketing activity. But once again, I think the easiest is whenever you receive an email asking you to link the expense line is you just click on the link and then it will open you the expense line that you need to link, okay? In this particular case, there's already a marketing activity because it's one that Duncan has worked on. But if I go in this view here, expense line without a marketing activity, if I choose one, then you'll see that there's no marketing activity linked to this expense line. And the only thing you need to do is just double click here, press the magnifying glass, and then you have to search for your marketing activity that you need to link this expense line to, and then select it. Be careful, the search is done on the name of the marketing activity and not on the marketing activity number. So if you want to find this marketing activity, you have to type the text here, the name, and not the MA number, okay? So once you've done that, imagine it's this one you want to link it to, you just select it and then press save, and that's it. Your job is done. So basically, if we recap the process, once you get an invoice, you just send an email to finance, to the email address indicated in the procedures, with the necessary information on in that email, making sure that you indicate the marketing activity related to the invoice or the marketing activities. If you have like an invoice covering like 5 fairs, then you indicate which marketing activity and which amount for each marketing activity. Once you send this email to finance, finance is going to do the job of creating the bank details, inserting the bank details, creating the vendor, making sure the VAT percentage is correct. All this is going to be done by finance. And then once they're ready and they've entered the invoice in Abacus, you will receive an email informing you to go and approve the invoice in Abacus. Then once this is done, the invoice will follow the normal approval processes. If the amount is too big for you, then it goes to your regional director. If the amount is superior to what the regional director can approve, it goes to the person above, etc. Once the invoice is finally approved, totally approved in Abacus, 2 days later, it's created, the invoice and the expense lines are created in Salesforce, and you get an email asking you to link the marketing activity to each expense line. And then once this is done, on the invoice in Salesforce, you'll be able to see if it has been paid or not by finance. So once the invoice is paid by finance, on the invoice in Salesforce, you'll have a payment date indicated there to tell you when the invoice was paid. This is new compared to the past also. And well, that's it. There's nothing much more to it. So I don't know if you have questions on the process or not.
I do.
Yes, Nadine?
We don't need any more receipts for agent invoices then?
Well, this you can still, this depends on how you're working with agents. Some agents have set budgets and we agree to pay them a certain amount for their activities. And that's one thing. And then some agents, we work with them and we just expect them to send us invoices of the activities that they're doing as the operation goes. So this really depends on each agent and the agreement we have with that agent. I know that we have some big agents where they invoice us a certain amount every quarter, for example. And then we have a list of the activities they're running, but we don't have all the receipts for all the activities. And then, but that's like particular agents. In most cases, usually we always get like an invoice or a receipt per activity that's run or whatever.
What do we do with those receipts? We have to send them along with the invoice?
If you have the invoice, if it's just an invoice, then we don't necessarily need the receipts. If we have an invoice from the agent, we only need the receipt of the fare if that is what we are paying, what we're paying. If we're paying directly the fare and it's the agent booking the fare for us and then he's sending us the invoice for the fare and then we're paying directly the fare, then yes, we need the receipt of the fare. But if it's the agent invoicing us for the fare and then we're paying the agent, then we don't need the receipt of the fare.
Okay.
You can ask it if you want to make sure that your agents are not conning you or overcharging you or whatsoever. But I mean, on the finance,
don't require it anymore.
Yeah, on the finance side, we have an invoice from a supplier. We pay that invoice. That's the financial proof that we need. Now, on the business side, this is for you to make sure that what the agent is invoicing us corresponds to the reality.
So that means you recommend that we still ask for the receipts, but we don't have to send it to finance.
I would recommend that, yes. Keep them, at least keep them in an email, so that if we come back to you, if anybody comes back to you with this invoice, this specific invoice, and think there is an issue, you have the proof that of what the agents paid or so on.
Okay, very good. I have a second question.
Yeah.
It said in the document that it needs to say on the invoice SCG Services SA.
Yes.
How important is that? Because if we do that for fares, they will get confused and put that on the sign at the fair. That's why we usually leave it at Swiss Education Group. That way, in the fair and in the fair guide, it says Swiss Education Group and not anything else.
Normally, all the fair organizers should be able to issue an invoice with the correct name of the supplier and have a trade name. It should not be an issue normally. If not, if they can write a Swiss Education Group SEG Services at least. The issue for us here is that SEG Services SA is a company. The Swiss Education Group is just a trademark. It's even not a company. We have two companies, Swiss Education Group AG and Swiss Education Holding AG, but these are only holding companies with no activities. So the real name of the company is SEG Services SA. We should have as much as possible the invoices with this name.
Okay.
Any other questions from anyone else?
Will we receive a notification email when the invoice has been paid, or should we look that up ourselves?
No notification for the moment. This is just for you. If you want to know if an invoice has been paid, you will have to go and look it up. We might change that in the future, but for the moment, it's just like that, in the sense that once everything has been approved and the invoice is in Salesforce, well, you should assume it's going to be paid in the following days. This is how it usually works, and then you can always go and check if it's the reality. Now that we're not putting notifications, we're trying to be careful with number of notifications because people are getting a lot of already emails to go and approve stuff, to go and match the expense line with the marketing activity. So we want to reduce a bit the number of emails people are getting. So, but if it's a requirement that we get a lot in the coming months, once people are using the system, we might consider it.
Yes, for your information, if the invoice is fully approved, there is no specific issues either in finance or anywhere else. We issue payment for the sales invoices normally every Thursday. Every week, each Thursday, we issue payment with all the invoices approved. in the past. So we had some delays at the beginning of the year, but now we came back to this rule since 1 or 2 or 3 months. Every invoice approved is paid the following Thursday for the sales invoices.
Okay, good. And then one more question or 2 more questions regarding the Abacus software. Where do we find the SEG managed software center console? I have never seen that before. So how can I get hold of the Abacus software of the program?
Okay, then you have 2 problems. The first one is you have to contact IT to make sure that you have this managed software center on your computer, because this is where IT are going to be pushing the updates that we need to do on our computers, the apps or the software that we need to have. That's where they're going to be pushing everything in the future. Or they've been doing that for some time. So contact Stéphane and Loïc to make sure that you have this. And then once you have this console in there, you will have Abacus.
Okay, all clear. Second question, will the interface be in French? When you just opened it, it was all in French, or can one choose the language?
We have 4 language, English, French, Italian, and German. And for all the normal user, we put English. Claudio is in French, but normally it's English.
All right, thank you. That were my questions.
Okay. I know that I had 1 or 2 comments from other regional managers that we will have to go in 2 different systems now to work. It's not convenient. It's true, yes, you'll have to go in 2 different systems. But where we believe that you'll be gaining time is the fact that you don't have to create the vendors, the sub-vendors, enter the bank details, check the VAT, and then you have those back and forth because finance is refusing your invoice because you haven't entered the right information. So you're going to be gaining time there. And then in Salesforce, you won't need to create the invoices and the expense line anymore. Those will be created automatically. You'll only need to go and link them to the marketing activity. So yes, you have 2 softwares, 2 solutions that you'll have to open on one side, but on the other side, I think you'll gain some time on other aspects.
This solution, for your information, has been tested by the Western Europe team, Duncan's team, and they are all, they like it very much. So if you need any feedback from them, you can still call them or send them an email.
Okay, so if it's all clear, we just want to remind you that as of today, you should not be entering invoices in Salesforce anymore. You should start sending them to finance. Tomorrow morning, you will receive your Abacus login details so that you can all log in. If you have issues logging in, don't wait. Please contact Stéphane, Loïc, and ourselves. Send an email to all of us so that we can make sure that you have Abacus up and running on your computers. Remember that to connect to Abacus, you have to be on the VPN or on an SEG network. That's important, otherwise it's not going to work. And then what we will do is, like, all the invoices that are in Salesforce already, then we'll have to make sure that they are approved, and we'll treat them as it comes.
We would end the invoices cycle in Salesforce beginning of July, first week of July. It would be very kind. I don't know if it will be possible or not, but very kind to have all the invoices approved in Salesforce, all the old invoices approved in Salesforce.
And like this, we start we all with the new system following as of today. Okay, perfect. If you don't have any more questions, then that's it for us. We're not going to take more of your time. You might receive a slightly revised version of the procedure with like small updates, but nothing major. I mean, the general procedures are correct. And if you have any issues, let us know. Thanks a lot and have a lovely evening, day, wherever you are.
Thank you, Claudio. Have a good day. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.